Hi, Fueled Up friends. Welcome back and welcome. And my name is Darwin, and today I'll be interviewing Ashley, Food for Fuel dietitian.
And on my channel, I give you tips and tricks to live your best, healthiest life. In today's video, as you can see, my lovely guest Darwin is going to be interviewing me similar questions as I interviewed him in the video about him becoming plant-based and living a plant-based lifestyle. So I'm going to share my side of the story today.
All right, without further ado, we got some questions here, just like you asked me. Check out my interview. Be very similar, but obviously from the professional dietitian herself. Now, what made you decide to start living a plant-based lifestyle?
So I feel like there's a lot of reasons I became plant-based. One of the reasons I would say was from a young age, I had a bad relationship with food. So that definitely encouraged me to want to gain a new perspective and learn about how I could have a healthier relationship with food. So that really kind of, I guess, more so got me interested in nutrition. And so once I was in nutrition in college, that's when I learned more about, okay, what different diets can you do? And when I say diet, I don't mean like fad diet. I just mean in general, like just ways of eating. So I would say I was in maybe my junior year of college when I started more so researching about plant-based. And then, I became vegetarian. And then, from there, I kind of progressed to a plant-based vegan lifestyle.
What would you say from being a vegetarian, you probably do like cheese and eggs and all that, which is probably like the hardest thing. I know it was for me. When people are switching over to plant-based fully. What ultimately made you go full right into it?
I didn't go full right into it. I did go in stages. So I would say I started as what you would call a lacto-ovo-pescatarian. So there's so many terms for vegetarianism. And so lacto meaning dairy, ovo meaning egg, and then pesc meaning fish. So that would mean I ate dairy, eggs, and fish. And then I didn't eat any chicken or red meat and any other byproducts that are from red meat or chicken. So that's kind of where I started out, and then I slowly kind of weaned off, I guess I would say, of the other things. And I would say eggs were first, cheese was next, and then actually for me, the last thing and the hardest thing for me was fish. So I would say like sushi was the last thing I took out of my diet.
Miss my yellowtail sushi myself.
Salmon, smoked salmon.
Oh, so good. But, at the end of the day, I guess after all this, how would you say your relationship with food has changed since you transitioned to plant-based eating?
I have definitely a lot healthier relationship with food. I I would say, like I said before, based on why I went plant-based, having a poor relationship with food when I was younger in my teen years, that was probably the worst. Probably when I was like 18 or so was the worst relationship I did have with food. And so going to a plant-based lifestyle, it kind of helped me trust food more. And it might be kind of hard to understand what that means, but like for someone who's had an eating disorder before, they know what that means. I'm sure anyone watching this who's had an eating disorder or poor relationship with food, they kind of understand what I mean by like not trusting food. And you kind of fear food instead of looking at it as fuel, which is why I think, my name, Food for Fuel, is really important to me too, because it really shows even my progress, even if it's just me who knows it, but it just shows like, wow, I went from fearing food to using it as fuel. And so it helped me with that. And I feel better, and it really does feel like fuel. So it makes me feel good physically and then mentally, and it's a better emotional connection as well with food. So it definitely has changed a lot.
A lot of people will look at all these different diets and the benefits of them, and people would think, hey, I'm eating healthy. From one person that's already like working out and doing, all these healthy things, to completely switch over to plant-based eating. What would you say would be like an initial benefit that you received once you did?
I mean, I don't recall like specifically losing weight, but I do feel like I might have, but not on purpose really. I guess in my vegetarian transition, I kind of started to lose some pounds, but again, not really intentionally. It was just more so because I was changing the way I was eating, and it was that like a natural healthy side effect is what I like to call it. But honestly, for me, I think the biggest benefit was being able to eat until I was full and not feeling guilty, feeling more nourished, feeling more energized, and just like really being able to be like, wow, I can eat these carbs on my plate and not feel guilty about it.
Awesome. Good stuff. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
So what would you say what was the most challenging part of the transition?
The most challenging part for me was, I would say, my family. I mentioned this in the video with you a little bit.
The same with my family too. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Not eating that mondongo, that sancocho for Christmas or Thanksgiving?
But I would say just, I kind of felt like I was coming out of the closet because, you know, it's just a big change for anyone in my family to just eat just plants, you know? It's kind of like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you eat this, you know, kale soup, which has, you know, chorizo in it? So I just, it was hard to, I guess, open up and say, you know, like, I'm not eating meat anymore. I don't eat cheese anymore. But I guess it was kind of helpful going from, you know, pescatarian. They kind of understood that more because we do, you know, in my family, we do eat a lot of fish. So it was kind of, that was seen more normal. But then when I cut out red meat, it was like, you know, my grandma was serving hamburgers one day and it was just like, she made one for me and I'm like, no, I don't eat that anymore. Oh, come on, just have it. And it's just the misunderstanding. That's probably the hardest part. And even to this day, not necessarily with my family anymore, they totally get it and they're supportive and accepting. But with a lot of people, I think it's still kind of hard. But because I get so much benefit out of it, I really don't care what other people say. And if other people have other opinions about it, it doesn't bother me because I know it's what's best for me, what's best for the planet, best for the animals. And it's just overall, honestly, an optimal diet.
You talked about it a little bit already, but what was like your mindset change, you know, when it came to that? Or how has your mindset changed now that you're already a plant-based eater?
Yeah, I would say it did have to, like, it does go hand in hand with your mindset changing because think about, and I say this all the time to patients and clients, it's kind of before what we thought about as eating and dinner and our plates. The main thing we think of is like, I'm gonna have steak tonight, I'm gonna have salmon tonight, I'm gonna have chicken tonight. And we're like not thinking about, well, what veggies am I gonna have on my plate? Which grain am I gonna have on my plate? No one ever, you know, thinks about that as their main course, right? And so that was a mindset change, I guess. And also being more balanced in how I eat was kind of a mindset change. And just in general, I think eating plant-based you have to change your mind because you have to be more open-minded about things. And I actually never tried Indian food before going plant-based. I never tried so many cuisines. I was just such a boring eater. And I think that's actually another benefit I gained was expanding my palate and what I eat. I would have never eaten some of the things, actually some of my favorite foods like Thai food, I would have never eaten if I hadn't gone plant-based. So I think that's actually a benefit and a mindset change for sure.
I guess what are your initial meals that you prep every day now?
It's kind of hard to say go-to because at this point in time, I am really trying to expand what I'm doing. So it's hard to say, I guess, a go-to, but I do love what I call Sloppy Joe. It's a lentil Sloppy Joe. I do love that. I guess I don't really have specific go-tos because I like to switch it up, but things that I would say are easy that I like to recommend and what I also like to enjoy are any pasta dishes. You can just throw beans in it. Grain bowls are kind of easy because you just make the whole grain, the veggies, the plant-based protein instead of the animal protein. Overnight oats I've been doing since before I was vegetarian. So honestly, I've been doing that for so many years and they're still not boring to me because you can do so many versions of them and so many flavors you can incorporate into them. So that's definitely my go-to breakfast option or kind of dessert sometimes. But for lunches and dinners, I really, really switch it up a lot. But I guess my favorites are probably this like chickpea curry I like to make, the tofu that you make me, anytime you make tofu. And then just in general, one of my favorite meals is noodles of any kind. Like I love a Thai salad with noodles. I love Thai Thai food, yes.
Yeah.
Thai noodles.
Gotta love 'em.
Ramen.
Jamming. Any advice that you have for anyone that is considering, especially with this new year where health is of utmost importance to everyone? What kind of advice would you have for someone that's considering, you know what, maybe I want to try plant-based living?
I would say, I mean, I actually do. I already have a couple of videos about kind of getting people in the right direction for if you're plant curious, is what I call it. So I would recommend starting watching those, but also just be more open-minded about what plant-based means. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. And I think that's what scares a lot of people, is thinking, well, if I go plant-based, right, I have to eat all my meals plant-based. And that's not even the case. And you can actually really impact the environment and your health, even just by doing one meal a day plant-based. And even if you take a look at your diet, you might say, wow, I already do that. I already eat my breakfast, oatmeal or cereal plant-based. So you could even just try to go to 2 meals a day or 1 day a week. A lot of people like to do meatless Mondays. So kind of starting slow would probably be my biggest advice. But for those who are actually, ready to make the change, ready to actually do the plant-based plunge into 2021, I would say start with easy recipes, because it gets kind of scary and overwhelming if you're trying to make these like gourmet dishes. Just start simple, and as long as they're balanced. And what I mean by that is having a whole grain or some type of like starchy vegetable, some complex carb in your meal, having a plant-based protein, meaning maybe beans or lentils, and then some type of veggie. Or maybe it might be a fruit, depending on what meal it is. But as long as it's balanced, just start simple. Start with what you like and try to make it a version without meat and cheese.
Easy enough, but at the end of the day, it's all about the discipline, the dedication that you want to put into your health.
So if you are plant curious, I do plant-based coaching. So if you want to sign up for that, we can have a little chat on the phone to see if there's a plan that works for you. And I also want you to check out my description and see I have my website there, I have my Instagram, my Facebook, and I even have my poetry book link. So if you're interested in any of those, you can take a look there. And please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more.
All the above.
Yes, please. And remember to fuel yourself.
Don't fool yourself.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.